Fans of a Horus Heresy, standing on battlements, and seeing if models are shrinking or getting bigger, thank you very much for joining me for a quick unboxing video. And this is an unboxing video, micro construction and size comparison piece. And the reason we are doing the latter part of that is due to the two models we have to look at today. And these two are the Imperial Fist's Legion Praetor models that were released by Forge World a couple of months back. And as you can see, we have a guy here in Artificer armor and a guy here in Praetors Terminator armor. And these models have created some interest and discussion around the question of size, insofar as they appear to be bigger than previous Horus Heresy miniatures we've seen. So thank you to Kev, who I recently built a Mastodon for. He's loaned me these two miniatures to unbox and then do a little bit of size comparisons around. And knowing me, I've got a whole host of Heresy models to compare these two. So what we're going to do is going to unbox them, take a quick look at the parts, appraise the quality, show off the detail. Then I will construct the vertical components of the miniatures and we'll do some size comparisons. So let's go. We'll start with the Praetor. Oh, don't forget everybody, code 30. The new Horus Heresy plastic box set is now officially the worst kept secret in wargaming. There's been more leaks about it. It's apparently called Heta Gladius or Heta Gladius. And it was supposed to have been revealed at Warhammer Day, I hear, but due to issues, it's been delayed. Certainly the reveal part of it until Christmas / the new year for a release in January. Not long though, not long. I can't wait for those plastic Mark 6s. Right, so let's have a look. So you actually get quite a lot of components in this miniature. And this explains the relatively high price of these, because you get a lot of keys, more price. That's how Forge World rolls. So we get a 32mm round base, standard fare there. And then here's a Praetor. So very nice, Mark III armor. Or based on Mark III armor, obviously as a Praetor he will be in Artificer, but there's no reason why you couldn't use this for Centurion or any other conversion you had in mind. I like the stippled detailing on the outside of his lower legs. That looks good. And just overall, I mean, yeah, loads of detail. Dynamic pose as well. So there's the body. We have a baselet. Don't know if it's a tabard or a knife blade. So this baselet we will need to consider when we are doing our size comparison. Then we have a sword. Very impressive sword. A hand with a dynamic swish to it. We have a power pack, two pauldrons the other way up, a rather nice bas relief Imperial Fist logo. His other one has just a soupçon of filigree in the corner. We have a cloak. That definitely adds to the dynamic feel of the model, but easy to leave cloaks off if you don't fancy that, or perhaps want to represent him after he's survived a flamer blast. And then we have his head. So let's have a quick check head. So unusually for a model like this, you don't get a unhelmeted head. So this is clearly very Imperial Fists and health and safety first. So we get these two little armor platelets. I presume those are going to go around his hips. And then we get the helmet as well with this bilateral crest, very reminiscent of a Roman centurion. Right, so there we go. So there is the Artificer armor Praetor, and now we shall move on to the Praetor in Terminator armor, specifically Tartaros plate. We shall go into him as well. Yeah, so Heta Gladius. It's supposed to contain 46 Mark 6 Marines, 10 plastic Terminators, Cataphracti, the ones that originally came with Calf, a new multipose Contemptor Dreadnought, a plastic Spartan, and 2 heroes, and a rulebook, and I think some dice, and I think it's supposed to be £240 or €240. We're not quite sure after the Facet 212 leaks over at Nafka Blogspot as to what the pricing units were. I tell you, Forge World and Games Workshop on this. They are like MI5 in the Cold War. They run a leaky ship. Right, so we have another baselet. And then we have a cloquette. Some nice lightning strike details and an eagle in the corner. Very Unification Wars, perhaps. We have Gorget, 2 pauldrons, some nice thunder strike symbols there. An eagle shield, an eagle wing shield bearing the Roman numeral 7. Of course, for Legio 7, the Imperial Fists. We have his storm shield. I believe these are called storm shields at this point, or it is a prototype storm shield. And that's got this very impressive bas relief icon, all sorts going on here. Thunder strikes, a Maltese cross. No, is it a Maltese cross? I can't remember. But it's a Templar cross, isn't it? The Imperial Fist, the wings, the Legion. It's complete melange of insignia through the ages. And a very nice sword, which is presumably a paragon blade, or has been sculpted with a paragon blade in mind. And then we have some arms, the tabard. Yep. We have his helmet and a couple of turgies. A lot more parts to model. We have an orphaned post. There we go. So there's some more armor plates, presumably what's commonly seen as being an iron halo. We have a torso. And finally, oh, well, what's this? This is, I think that's a bit of lead, not lead, a bit of resin off cast or something. And then we have his legs, and these are mighty legs. Yeah, very big. So much detailing on this. Beautiful miniature. Really good. All the recent Praetor models have been of a very high detail standard, I think. So, there's a quick look at the parts for you. I hope you found that interesting. On the quality front, they all look flawless. I didn't see a single issue across any of those. Brilliant. So they're very nicely cast. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little pause. I'm going to go away, prepare the parts that are needed to work out how tall these miniatures are, and then we'll do the size comparisons. So be back soon. And here we are back again. So what do we have? So we have 2 minimally assembled Imperial Fist Praetors. So what I've done is I've just done the minimum I need for the purpose of this comparison. Being of the scientific mindset, I just decided, well, we don't even need these baselets, so let's completely remove those from the equation to remove the confusion and get a clear answer on the size. So there is the Artificer Armour guy. My gut feel on him is not particularly big. Then we have the guy in Tartaros Armour, and here I do have a feeling of embiggening having happened, but let's test that properly. So I've got a host of miniatures here, which hopefully will shine some light on this. So let's start with a Praetor, and let's try compare him to some equivalent models. So firstly, I've got, this is one of the older Heresy miniatures, and this is in effect like it's kind of a bit like a Praetor miniature. Not quite, but this is from the Mark III command set, and this is the officer. This is part of a large Night Lords commission I'm currently building. So if we put those side by side, base to base, we can see that this guy is, in real terms, if you're taking base to head height, they are about comparable. Now this guy's in quite a dynamic pose, so he is taller. If I were to do a bit of conversion work and straighten out the pose here so he's more upright, he would maybe be half a head up on this guy. But I don't think there's a great deal in it, and certainly nothing that would bother me as a modeler or collector. Let's have another comparison. Here we've got a Destroyer Marine, if we can get some light on it. This is part of my Word Bearer's army. Had a lot of fun making these. You can see this is the Squad Sergeant. is carrying a tainted blade. These were painted for me as a commission by Office Painter. And if we do the comparison now, again, sort of like base to base, yeah, he's a little bit taller. Would it bother me? Nah. Would it bother me if all of the new Marines that are coming for the Heresy are scaled something like this? Nah, I'll quite happily add them to my existing armies. That wouldn't worry me in the slightest. Let's do another Marine, another standard Marine, before we move on to some guys in Terminator armour. Now, this is a Moritat, again part of the Night Lord's commission. This is a custom piece, combining parts from a number of kits. Now just let's see how the size compares. Well, I mean, now you're actually about 1-for-1 on size. And this guy's got this great big backpack as well, this jump pack, which makes him considerably larger in stature. So I don't think there's anything to comment on there with this guy. Maybe a little bit taller, but nothing significant. And I suppose let's do the true test with a true scale Marine, if there is such a thing as true scale. And here we've got a Primaris Intercessor. One of the rare models I've painted up. I do occasionally paint things. Only very occasionally. I mainly build stuff. And here, well, yeah. Well, that's very, very obvious, isn't it? The Primaris Marines is built at a bigger scale, I think. Maybe if you straightened him out, it might be similar height. And, you know, this miniatures preserve the much more gentle bulkiness, which is a funny thing to say about Mark III Marines, but there you go. That's a sentence for the history of the English language. But whereas the Primaris Marines have got a lot of heft to them. To my eye, at least, there's nothing there that would worry or concern me scale-wise for this guy. And I think probably the same would be true of the new Sons of Horus Praetor in Artificer armour as well. Okay, now let's move on to the Praetor in Tartaros Terminator armour. So this guy does feel a bit embiggened. Firstly, we've got a Space Marine in Tartaros Terminator armour. So this is one of the Legion Tartaros Terminator Marines. So this is a resin forge walled one. So this is kind of like scaled as they were originally. So size. Okay, so now here, this fella's definitely bigger. He's got a good head on this guy. Although it's maybe not a full head because both of them have an askance stance. He's definitely bigger though. So embiggening confirmed here. Would it worry me? Not really. I think it would. It is a bit bigger. It wouldn't be so big as to discourage me from buying one. Now, the thing about these Tartaros Terminators is already for years, character models have existed that are outscaled compared to them. This is a store-only limited edition Praetor. Now, I converted it. This is a word-bearer Praetor. Or actually, it's my warmonger. And I put a word-bearer helmet on it, a mace, who's that? That was Magos Terra sent me that. That's a custom part, and he's got some digital lasers and a Volkite charger. But if we do the size comparison here, we can see that already there'd been a bit of movement in size. Might be better the other way around. This model came out in 2015, remember, 6 years ago. And this guy was already a bit bigger then. And he's got an even more askance stance than this guy. So one thing to consider is the scale had already increased on some models, or the size had. And then if we compare these two, then I mean, the Imperial Fist is definitely bigger. He is taller. Is he taller to a point where it would matter if you're building an army and having this as like a character model? Well, it wouldn't for me. But, you know, you can make your own minds up. I'm just giving you some evidence to consider. Oh, this, by the way, was painted for me by the very talented Nick Vogt. And I suppose another thing, just to give us a bit of perspective here, is other models of a similar sort of ilk to this. And here we have one of the splendid and magnificent Gal Vorbak Dark Brethren squad members. And this is my Isfan 5 era Argyle Tal. This is painted for me by Bees. Yeah, she's a very talented painter. And if we stick these two alongside each other, then, well, they're about the same height. Given these are all common models and representative of common model sizes in the Heresy, does an extra couple of millimeters on a Praetor model like that really matter? To me, it wouldn't. They're still based on the same size base as the rest of the army is. You know, either Terminator is on a 40mm base, this Praetor on a 32mm base. It wouldn't matter to me, but as I said, there's a comparison that you can use for evaluating what you think is the latest size range. And of course, we don't have all the models yet, and we don't have all the information. I mean, we have some leaked screenshots on the upcoming plastic box set, which shows some information, but it's difficult to make exact comparisons. I mean, when I look at it, and I look at the spacing of the legs on some of the models and compare it to, say, the Primaris Marine, to my eye, they don't look as big as Primaris Marines. I have a feeling that they're probably going to be scaled somewhere in between these two guys. So they might be a little bit bigger than the current gen, but still smaller than a Primaris Marine. So maybe we'll see a gain of 1 to 2 millimeters. We will see. Only time will tell. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to say about this selection of models. I hope you found this little unboxing cum size comparison video an interesting one. I'd just like to thank Kev again for the loan of the 2 Imperial Fist Praetor miniatures, so thank you very much for that, Kev. And as always, I'd like to hear your thoughts and observations on this in the comment section, so please do share those. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.